Welcome to Ready, Set, Real Estate, where we will help empower and educate you on many different aspects of real estate, finance, and investing. Each week, we will expand your knowledge and uncover hidden truths. We will break down real-world scenarios and study actual how-to strategies. Anyone can buy real estate, but together we'll ensure you make smart real estate investment decisions. Now, here's your host, award-winning author, international speaker, and real estate educator, LISA GILLETT.
Happy Wednesday. OMG. It is cold this week in Los Angeles. Welcome back to another information-packed episode. I am so excited to be back. I have been working hard. Listen, I have been working very hard to stay focused and continue to manage my current studies along with managing my business, family, my health. My health has been my priority this year, apparently. It's been my priority this year. I'm happy to share that I am 20 pounds and counting. I've lost 20 pounds and counting. I'm almost to my goal weight, which is great. Listen, it's been a real bear to work off the pandemic gains or the pandemic weight. I don't know what people are calling it, but whatever it is, I didn't like it. I don't want it a part of me. And I had to do something different about it. And I set out to get myself back on track to working out, which for me has been, it's just been really amazing because it's been my prayer. It's been my meditative state. It's where I get to reconnect with myself. So I must say that I'm really, really happy about getting my health back on track. That's what 2024 has been like for me. And it's in perfect alignment for my spirit. With that being said, let's talk about today's episode. We are in episode 253. Oh my goodness. Like, where did that go, right? The real meaning of free and clear. You know, I deal a lot with clients that are older. I deal with probates and trust or properties that are being sold through a trust. And oftentimes I hear the statement or the phrase, the property is free and clear. The property is free and clear. What does that mean? What does that mean anyway? What are we saying? The property is free and clear. So I want to delve into this today because we need to understand the real meaning of free and clear in real estate. And so that we are not pushing misconceptions of what the phrase free and clear means in real estate. And so today we're going to do classroom style. I'm just going to completely do audio today with no camera because for whatever reason, my camera is not working. And that's okay because you're here for the information and not my face anyway, right? So it's all good. It's all good. So today we'll be talking about the real meaning of free and clear. Listen, if you haven't already, make sure you press 1, let me know you here. Press 2 lets me know you shared it. Let somebody know that you are in the building. You are rocking with LISA GILLETT, super agent on Ready, Set, Real Estate, and you are getting these real estate gems. Make sure you press 1, lets me know you're here. Drop that in the chat below, in the comment, on the YouTube, the LinkedIn, wherever you're chiming in. And shout out to those of you who are listening to us on the radio podcast everywhere, or I should say on your favorite radio podcast. We are available everywhere. And before we continue, I, of course, want to, of course, come on, listen, this wouldn't be a show if we didn't have show sponsors, right? So I definitely want to shout out Omnis Property Solutions for being one of our show sponsors, our continued show sponsors. We'll be right back after this sponsor break.
Do you have properties that need to be maintained? For professional services that guarantee your property will stay safe and secure, Omnis Property is the team you want by your side. As a company, we pride ourselves on our best-in-class professionals, equipped with the latest technology for all your end-to-end property preservation needs. That means that from start to finish, our expert team can handle everything from accurate assessments to preservation projects of all sizes. Save money and time by working with leading experts that understand your needs and are committed to premier service. Get started today by contacting us for your project estimate. Visit www.omnispreservation.com or call 310-957-9132.
Wonderful. Welcome back. Thank you for indulging me with our show sponsor, Omnis Property Solutions. Okay, let's jump right into it. So, free and clear, what essentially does that mean? That a property is owned outright without liens, operative word here, underline that, without liens, mortgages, or other encumbrances. That's what free and clear means. That a property is free from liens, mortgages, or other encumbrances. So when we say free and clear, and we're in the United States, and there's that thing called property taxes, which is an example of a lien, is a property really free and clear? No, of course not. Because you've got that little thing called property taxes that's due semi-annually or annually, however you pay it, when you pay it. You should pay it so that you don't run into some other issues that I oftentimes come across where family members are saying the property's free and clear. Oh, so-and-so didn't own a mortgage. They didn't have a mortgage. They paid it off. It's free and clear. And then when we run property profiles, we ask our title company and team to prepare a preliminary title report. That's when we get the juice. That's when we get the real stuff that shows, no, that property has a lien on it. In fact, you haven't paid the property taxes in the last 3 years or the last 4 years. Now, you've got to be very careful about not paying property taxes, because if you do not pay property taxes for a consecutive 5 years, that allows the tax assessor's office to auction your property for the past due amount owed in property tax bills. Okay, so when we say free and clear, it is an idea, an expression that usually people feel like there's nothing owed on a property. But in reality, if you're in the United States and you own property in the United States, there is no such thing as free and clear. I don't mean to disappoint you and pop your bubble today for those of you who say, well, my property is owned free and clear. No, it's not. No, it is not. Let's jump into why this is important for buyers, because some of you are thinking about purchasing, you're investing in real estate, and some of you may or may not know this already. So I thought we'd put it on Front Street here so that you all can get the scoop in terms of the advantages of purchasing a property that is quote unquote free and clear. For purposes of this show, we are referring to properties that usually don't have liens and or mortgages and subject only to the property tax bill. And that even that can be negotiated to whom pays the past due amount, etc. I even had a client buyer purchase a property, and he negotiated that the seller pay the property taxes for the following year. Listen, these buyers are just doing They're doing some next level stuff out here. Really, really impressed when people put out their requests. And so in my world, I say, well, I don't say it to my client. I say it in my mind and I go, well, sellers usually don't do that. That's not customary for a seller to pay the property taxes for the next year going forward. But you'd be surprised what buyers are willing to get in this current market. Stay tuned, which brings me to a point. Stay tuned. Next week, we'll be talking about the buyer strike, what that means, and how it's affecting the real estate market. So make sure you stay tuned and make sure you hit that subscribe, follow, like, turn on the bell so you have notifications and you don't miss when we go live on the show. Okay. In summary here, the importance for buyers who are looking to invest or purchase a property that's free and clear. The key thing here, and of course, before I even read this word off my screen, let me drop a disclaimer real quick. Okay, so the information provided on this show should not be considered legal or tax advice. Please seek legal and tax advice from reputable licensed professionals. That's for the people in the back, for the people in the front, for the people over there, for the people you said, you should listen to Lisa. She knows everything. Yes, I do consider myself an expert, knowledgeable, but this show here is not for you to consider legal or tax advice regarding your specific situation. So please call those reputable licensed professionals regarding your specific scenario. Okay, very good. I'm glad you stuck that out. So there is reduced risk of legal disputes when you're purchasing a property that is free and clear. Why do we say there's a reduced risk? Essentially, you don't run into issues with mortgages that may have not been recorded properly. Yes. Have I been in that? Yes. Have we had those situations? Yes. Where I've noticed this with a lot of the 2006 through 2008 loans. Those were those subprime loans. A lot of those loans have been sold, packaged, resold, and packaged. And there is a company, PHH and Aquin Financial, I've noticed purchased a lot of those loans, and they've probably gotten great deals on the loans because essentially it's a great annuity that when that loan comes due, because a lot of them are reverse mortgages, a lot of them are subprime loans, which means the interest rates have adjusted, will adjust, will come due. So that's a great, nice little annuity for them that's coming due. And basically what I've noticed they've been doing in the last couple years is they are making sure the paperwork is proper. They're making sure the paperwork is proper. What do I mean by that? Essentially, they are revisiting the chain of title. They are looking at the trust deed, the deed of trust. They're looking at the grant deed documents. They are updating any forms that need to be updated, including affidavit of death of joint owners, and making sure that when it's time to either call that loan due or begin the pre-foreclosure process here in California. It's a non-judicial foreclosure process, meaning the paperwork that you've signed when you took on the mortgage says the mortgage company does not have to take you to court and sue you in order to foreclose on the property. California is a non-judicial foreclosure state. So what that means is you've got all the language in the paperwork that says if you default on the loan, then they can essentially begin the foreclosure process. And once the time has lapsed and they've done all the steps, but even with reverse mortgages are exempt to some of those steps. And once it comes due, they can auction off the property for the past due amount or the amount now due. What they have been doing is making sure that they've dotted the I's and crossed the T's to some of those paperwork. And essentially, it allows them to get through all the yellow tape, in essence, just in case those loans weren't properly signed, recorded, reassigned, filed, and transferred. So I'll give you a little story here. We had a client who was selling her property. And in fact, it was a property she inherited from her parents. And we found out that the mortgage was not properly recorded on the property. And in that instance, you can have a sale go through, and because there isn't a proper filing or recording of that mortgage onto that property, you can have a close of escrow and the entire net proceeds be sent to the seller. And in this instance, a buyer will feel hip hip hooray, I've got my new property, I'm really excited, only to find out that they have been dragged into a legal lawsuit or of some sort that is accusing them of unrich adjustment and all these other legal causes of action seeking damages because why? The mortgage wasn't properly recorded. So this is an example where and that's an extreme example, by the way. This is an example of where when you are looking to purchase something that does not have a mortgage, and you'll usually know that and confirm that by way of the preliminary title that you do get as a buyer. You do get a copy of that basically states what mortgages are on the property, if any, what liens, if any, what judgments, if any, what's recorded, property taxes, encumbrances. It will give you the laundry list of what's recorded and affecting the title to that property. So very, very important here as we are talking about this very ominous phrase, free and clear. It also gives the buyer an advantage to a more simplified purchasing process. What does that mean? That means that essentially when you are ready to purchase a property that's free and clear, the escrow team or settlement team does not have to wait to order payoff statements from the mortgage company, because that in itself can take anywhere from 10 to 21 business days. So as you are going through your due diligence period as a buyer, the seller is in the background waiting for their payoff statement. And sometimes it can be difficult to locate the loan information, especially when we are dealing with successor of interest, right? Successor in interest to an estate. This may be someone who's inherited a property, or this may be someone who is administering a property from a trust or a probate, may not have the loan statement, may not have the mortgage statements, and it can just be jumping through hoops to locate and track this mortgage and getting the information over to the mortgage team that verifies that the seller has the authority to request information on the loan, because it is actually against the law to divulge loan information to parties that are not authorized to get that information. Go figure. You try to call on somebody's loan and you don't have their social and date of birth and their current address or mailing address and the subject property address, good luck. You are going to be jumping through some hoops. And then there's that last tip here as an advantage when you are purchasing or investing in a property that is free and clear, at least from the buyer side, is the assurance of full ownership. What does that mean? Again, in the example of dealing with legal disputes, you don't have to deal with someone else claiming an interest against the property, or that they've got some type of collateral secured by this property. So when someone says I own it free and clear, again, subject to property taxes, that essentially gives you, the buyer, the assurance that this person does not have any liens, mortgages, or encumbrances affecting the title, and you don't have to deal with that. So I think that's a plus, and we definitely seek to deal with more of properties at free and clear. And in fact, right now, because we are dealing with a generation, the folks who've paid off the 30-year mortgage from a long time ago and have not refied, or I mean, it's been more than 30 years, because I believe it's about 73% of property owners are of the baby boomers. And essentially, these are folks that have purchased their property about 50, 60 years ago. And a lot of them paid the debt off free and clear. They may have refinanced in at some point, but not to the degree of what we see pricing at in today's time. So here's another perspective why the meaning of free and clear takes quite an advantage and is important for sellers. Is essentially, we're referring to property that does not have any liens, mortgages, judgments recorded against it affecting the value of the property. So essentially, we have higher property value. That means what, people? That means there's equity in the property. Equity is a lot higher in this instance, where we are dealing with higher values, higher equity, and the net amount. The net is essentially, you take the purchasing price and you minus or you subtract any existing liens, judgments, any costs against that property, and then you get the net value, which essentially gives you the equity in that property. It's also considered an increased attractiveness to buyers for the reasons that we discussed on the previous slide. Why buyers would prefer to buy a property or invest in property that's free and clear is because essentially, if you are not dealing with someone savvy, you as a seller or a property owner don't have someone who is savvy, who is looking out for your financial interests and your best interests, a buyer can come and offer you what seems to be the world, and you may feel like it's a lot of money because you've not seen no more than 100,000. So when someone says, "I'll give you $300,000, $400,000 cash," you say, "Wow, that is a lot of money." But if you are not an experienced real estate investor, or you are not working with an experienced professional, you essentially will be giving away a good portion of your equity to a potential buyer who may know more than the average bear. And then there's that last point here as we deal with free and clear, is that there's a quicker sales process when you are dealing with properties that are free and clear. What does that mean? Again, we don't have to wait for the process of ordering payoff statements and looking into liens and looking into other encumbrances and other issues that are affecting the title of that property. So it really is an overall smoother transaction, but there are some things that you need to keep in mind. Now you may say, well, how do I get to the free and clear status? I want to be part of the free and clear club. Well, that's real easy. All you've got to do is pay off any existing loans, resolve any outstanding claims, and obtain a clear title. Now, resolving any outstanding claims can come in the form of, what seems to be very popular right now are judgments. Judgments are being recorded, especially in California, because I believe the small claims limit has been increased from 10,000 to 25,000. Now, if you've been sued in the court for larger amounts, maybe you had a business and your business had a credit line, and you as the business owner or managing partner was a guarantor on that credit, it is very possible that the creditor can sue you and name you as an individual for the responsibility of the debt owed. What does that mean? Essentially, if there's a judgment recorded against your business, you will have a judgment recording against your individual name if it's filed that way, and that means it will show up on the chain of title. And the chain of title is essentially everything and everything. What's recorded on the title? Anything and everything. What's recorded on the chain of title? Anything and everything that shows up within a period of time. Now, I do want you all, as I wrap up here, I do want you to pay attention to something as we are dealing with properties that are free and clear, because oftentimes people say that, oh, it's properties free and clear. There's nothing owed on it. I don't have to pay anything. But we sometimes forget, or we don't know, that oftentimes when we pay off the mortgage on a property, let's say you've been paying your mortgage for the last 20, 25, 30 years, in your mortgage payments, if your escrow payments were impounded, that means that your mortgage payment also included your property taxes and your property insurance, also known as homeowners insurance. And once you paid off the mortgage, that means you were no longer making payments to an escrow account that covered your property insurance and your property taxes. This is where people get caught. This is where people get tripped up, is that they don't pay attention to the bill that comes forth. And it's an annual statement that says, here's the annual statement for your property insurance. Here is the renewal for your property insurance. And same goes with the past due property taxes, that if you are no longer making mortgage payments because you have successfully paid off any existing loans, you are still responsible for the property taxes on that property, and you are still responsible for any increase in property taxes over time. Here's where people often get slammed, is they've been used to paying the same property tax amount year in, year out. But guess what's happened in the last couple years, decades, is that the properties in your area have increased in value substantially, and the county assessor's office has come out, reassessed the area, and they say, hey, by the way, we've noticed that there's a lot of new construction. We've noticed the sale of property in the area has increased. We've noticed X, Y, and Z. So here's a new bill that says we've reassessed your property and we've determined that your property taxes now increased by X dollar amount. Pay attention, because you may have been sending the same payment for the last 30 years, or your family member has been sending the same payment for the last 30 years, but you now step in as the administrator of that property, or the bills, or however you are managing the maintenance of that property, and you don't realize that, hey, by the way, the property taxes have increased since the last statement. Pay attention, because again, if you don't pay the property taxes in full, that means they are what, people? It means it's past due. Real simple. If you owe $1,500 and you've been paying $1,200, or you've been paying $1,400 and it increased to $1,500, and you've not been sending the $100 difference, every year that you continue to not pay the property tax bill in full is another year that increases in taxes and penalties. And if you keep that up for 5 consecutive years, you will be getting inundated with people, investors, who are saying, hey, we can help you out of your situation. And you'll open yourself up to people who are scamming you, who are deceitful, who are looking to steal your equity. And you may all be confused as to, why is this happening? If I don't have a mortgage, my property is free and clear, and I pay my property taxes every year. The reality is, I've noticed that a lot of our folks are not paying attention to the property tax increases, And then you have what is called a rolling deficiency. That means every year, the amount that you are paying or neglecting to pay continues to increase, thereby snowballing into a bigger problem. And then the last thing I'd like for you to look out for is creditor claims or judgment. Those old credit card bills or statements or people you've co-signed on credit card bills, on loans, and they default and you say, well, I co-signed for somebody, many years ago, but they were paying on it. Guess what? They stopped paying on it. And then they were sued. And because you were a co-signer on that loan or on that credit card, that means you too are responsible. And if they are sued, the creditor has the right to get a judgment, file that judgment with the county recorder's office against your name and anything attached to your name, specifically any real property. That means any real estate that you have. So there's no avoiding it. These are my best tips when you are dealing with properties that are free and clear, what the real meaning of free and clear is, and make sure you let someone know what you've learned today. With that being said, that's my time, folks. You've all been great. I just want to make sure you've got my contact information, or if you've got a unique situation that you need help with, feel free to call or text me at 323-488-3265. Again, that's 323-488-3265. My email is lisa@lasuperagent.com. That's lisa@lasuperagent.com. You can check out more at lasuperagent.com. And for those of you who are viewing online, I'm back in the QR game. I was just sharing this with Kyle the other day. I said, man, I remember when QR codes first came out, I was putting QR codes and brochures on my cards, and then I moved away from it. And all of a sudden, when I'm watching YouTube and different little ads and commercials, I notice people have brought the QR game back, and it's come back with a vengeance. I see it everywhere. So I decided to bring it back for you all to make it really easy for you guys to learn more about what I'm into. Next classes, merch, books, consultation. If you are in a unique situation, if you're looking to sell or buy property, we've got an intake form on there. If you too are looking to launch your own podcast, I'm currently launching a special right now that actually ends on Friday, and it gives you quite a savings on being able to book me one-on-one, help you set up your own podcast just like this one. All right, folks, have a fantastic and productive week. We'll see you next week on another information-packed episode on Ready, Set, Real Estate, your favorite real estate podcast. Bye.
Thank you for listening to the Ready, Set, Real Estate podcast with Lisa Gillette, the LA Super Agent. Please like, subscribe, and share LA Super Agent everywhere on your favorite podcast